Once you have the whole backside covered in pencil graphite, you want to cut out your rectangle. If you use the plan in your packet, this should be the same size, or really close to the same size as your linoleum block. So we're going to place that down on top of our linoleum block, so the graphite is going to actually act like a carbon copy. We're going to transfer this image right onto our block by retracing it. I'll just take a small piece of tape, get it in place, and tape it down. And then I'm going to start tracing. When I trace, I really want to make sure I push down hard and go around the basic outlines of all my shapes. The reason I only put one piece of tape on here is so that I can check it and make sure that those lines are transferring. You can see how the pencil copies onto the top of our linoleum block. So I can do a little more, get all my basic lines traced in there, and check to make sure that they're going. I want to make sure though that if you're flipping up and checking, it goes right back in the same position. You don't want things to get off. At this point, you don't need to shade in everything that you've done on your plan. You just get the basics. Once all the basics are finished, then you can take your block and go back and start adding the little details. I didn't add in all the grass lines when I was tracing, so I can go back in and kind of freehand those on my block. I can put some stippling in. Stippling our little dots helps show the sidewalk texture. I didn't add in the little lines on my fire hydrant, so I can do things like that. Basically, at this point now, we're going to go back and sharpen the image up, make sure that all of our lines are crisp and clean, and then we can start adding all of the shading that we want to put on our block. It's very important that during this step, you think about your final image. If I have two places that are going to be light, let's say in between my two boards, if there's simply white boards, mine are going to be more textured, but let's say I was making these two places white, you need to have a thick enough line in between those two. We wouldn't want to just have this little skinny black line. You'd need to make this thicker, because everything that is white will get carved away. And if you carve out two big white places with just a little skinny line in between them, this line will just come off. It's not going to stay on. I have an example of another student's work. This person who made this artwork really had to pay attention when she was doing the fingers, because in between these fingers and in between these petals, while the fingers are white, she wanted each finger to show up. If she wouldn't have left these lines fairly thick, they could easily break off, and then instead of having individual fingers, she'd have something that looks like a white mitten. So you need to be aware of where you're putting some of those lines. Another trick that people use sometimes for outlining is to do a double outline. So here where the ballerina shirt is black and the floor is black, the student who made this went in and actually did kind of a double outline. And here you can see the arm. The arm is white, the outline of the arm is black, and then the double outline follows it around so that you have just a little extra emphasis on where the boundaries of your shapes are. That's something that you want to think about in this stage of the process, where you're coloring. What things do you want to be black, what things do you want to be white, and what things do you want to be textural.